scale of Xi Jinping's military purges could hinder China's ability to fight, say think tank. Chinese leader Xi Jinping has taken his purge of the country's military to the very top, targeting his highest-ranked general in the stunning move last month. But Xi Jinping's shake-up cuts across the much wider swath of his armed forces, with more than 100 officers potentially ousted since 2022. A new report from the prominent Washington-based think tank reveals just how deeply the anti-corruption drive has reached into the rank, and why operationally could result in serious unintended consequences for Xi Jinping. 36 generals and lieutenant generals have been officially purged since 2022, while another 65 officers are listed as missing or potentially purged. The report published Tuesday by the Center for Strategic and International Studies found the sweeping clear-out is part of Xi Jinping's long-standing drive to clean up China's military as he continued to tighten his grip on power and drive forward a major military modernization. But the scope of this unprecedented purge of China's military raised questions about its readiness to carry out complex operations, the report authors say. When accounting for positions that have been purged more than once, 52% of the People's Liberation Army's 176 top leadership positions have been affected, said the report. This figure is striking and extraordinary, demonstrating the depth of Xi Jinping's campaign and the unprecedented churn in the PLA leadership, wrote M. Taylor Fravel, the director of the Secretary Studies program at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and one of the report's 9 authors. Not just the top braces. Cleaning up the rampant graft in China's military has been a cornerstone of Xi Jinping's rule since he took power more than a decade ago. But a new wave of this purge in recent years has been those close to or appointed by the leader himself taken down. Official notices typically accuse these officers of corruption or violation of the discipline and law, but discerning the forces behind this move is challenging within the notoriously effective PLA. While the targeting of top leaders like top-ranking General Zhang Yusha and Joint Operations Chief Liu Jianli, who were placed under investigation in January, has drawn headlines. The report says the extension of the purge to lower level officers means Xi Jinping would have to take into officers with much less command experiences and zero experience in actual combat to lead military operations. That could limit the scope of military campaigns the PLA could take on, the report says. The gaps left in PLA top ranks can be seen in the pool of officers in line to take over one of the military's 5 theater command. With the purge of 56 deputy theater commanders, the pool of those who've taken over one of those 5 command has been cooled by more than 33%, the report said. Bonnie Lin, another the report's authors, says the purges might have already been reflected in PLA readiness. She noticed that PLA exercises around Taiwan in response to the problematic behavior by the self-governing island took substantially longer to implement in 2025. 19 and 12 days compared with just 4 days in 2024. The Taiwan question. The loss of top leadership brings into question whether the PLA leadership could conduct the incredibly complicated and risky invasion of Taiwan in the next few years, especially noting moves by the United States and Japan to counter such a scenario, the report says. China's ruling Communist Party claims the self-governing island democracy as its own territory and has not ruled out taking control of it by force. Xi Jinping's demonstrated lack of faith in his military is good from the perspective of the United States and Taiwan for deterring the invasion, wrote John Cover, the non-resident senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. But the authors caution that despite the purges, the PLA still retains a considerable clout. In the Taiwan scenario, less complex operations such as the blockade can still likely be implemented easily, the report says. If Taiwan or United States run over a red line for military force, China has a lot of options to punish, teach a lesson, and declare its own victory that do not require highly coherent commander coordination, Cover wrote. China is still very capable of taking actions to attack Taiwan and in the process to spoil the United States' whole state. CSIS analyst Thomas Christensen wrote. But Christensen sees the reason for Xi Jinping to be cautious, even in the less complicated scenario. Will he get honest, candid advice? Fearing a similar fate to their predecessors, newly promoted leaders might not pass bad news up the line, the report said. This is dangerous for crisis management because it could make Xi Jinping unrealistically confident in his military capabilities in future contingencies, Christensen wrote. Experts have also argued, however, that Xi Jinping sees the current moment as the good time to clean house, especially as he deals with the American counterpart who doesn't seem to be focused on the issue of Taiwan and whose security focus is elsewhere in the world. And while the purges raised many questions about PLA readiness in the short term, China's adversaries may need to be more wary around the end of the decade. Author Joel Usnau, senior fellow at the National Defense University. By then, newly promoted officers will have gained more experience with China's modern hardware in exercises and in working with Xi Jinping, possibly boosting confidence and expectations of success, Usnau wrote.